A few years after you build a raised bed, something weird starts to happen. At first, everything looks fine. You're watering the same, maybe even fertilizing more, but your plants don't grow like they used to. Sometimes they look healthy, but they just don't produce like they did that very first year. And it's confusing because on the surface, nothing really changed. So most people assume, I guess I need more fertilizer. But that may not actually be the problem. What's really happening is your soil is quietly losing steam. And if you don't fix it, your raised bed will keep getting worse every single season. In this video, I'm going to show you why this happens right around year 3, what's actually going on inside your soil, and exactly how to fix it so your beds start producing like they did on day 1. When you build a raised bed, you kind of expect it to just work. You go out, you buy your soil, or maybe you have it delivered, you fill the bed, you mix everything together, and you're thinking, all right, that's done. And to be fair, at the beginning, that feels completely true. Year 1 is almost always incredible. You plant into this fresh, rich, fluffy soil, and everything just takes off. You get fast growth, big plants, great harvests. It almost feels easy. Year 2, still really good. Maybe not quite as explosive as year 1, but still strong enough that you don't question anything. So naturally, you assume this is just how it works now. But what most people don't realize is that raised bed soil is not a permanent system. It's not like native soil that's been building structure and biology over decades. You created this all at once. And from that moment on, it's changing every single day. There's one thing that makes this happen even faster in raised beds. They're not usually connected to the ground. So everything is more controlled, but also more extreme. They drain faster, they dry out faster, they warm up faster, and all those things are great for growing, but it also speeds up decomposition. So all that organic matter you put in, the compost, peat, core, whatever you used, it's breaking down faster than it would in native soil. Here's what's actually happening under the surface. Your soil is slowly collapsing, not visibly at first, but structurally and biologically from the inside out. Most raised bed mixes are built from organic materials, compost, peat moss, coco coir, or other lightweight components, and that's exactly why they work so well in the beginning. They're loose, they hold water well, they drain properly, they're full of microbial life, but all those materials have one thing in common. They break down. Every time you water, every time microbes process organic matter, and every time roots grow and die back, that material is being consumed and converted into smaller and smaller particles. And again, that's not a bad thing. That's actually how nutrients become available to your plants. But over time, it comes with a trade-off. You lose structure, and structure is everything when it comes to healthy soil. Once you understand that, the signs start to become really obvious. Number 1, your soil level drops. And this is usually the first thing people notice. You fill your bed all the way to the top, and then over time, it sinks an inch, then a couple inches, sometimes more. That's not just the soil settling. That's organic matter breaking down and literally disappearing. So right away, you're losing volume. The second thing is the soil gets tighter and denser. At the beginning, your soil feels light and easy to work with. You can dig into it with your hands, no problem. But over time, it starts to feel heavier, more compact, because those larger, airy particles have been broken down into finer material that packs together more tightly. And when that happens, airflow decreases, oxygen levels drop, roots can't expand the same way. And roots need oxygen just as much as they need water. Which brings us to the third. Water behavior changes. This is where things really start to affect your plants. You might notice that when you water, it runs off more quickly, or it pools on the surface for a second before soaking in, or the top dries out much faster than it used to. Meanwhile, deeper down, the soil can actually stay compacted and low in oxygen. So now you've got a mismatch. Dry on top, restricted below. And that's a tough environment for roots to grow in. Number 4, plants start to stall. This is usually what gets your attention. Plants that used to take off now just kind of sit there. They grow slower, they stay smaller, production drops, and it doesn't always look like a clear deficiency. Sometimes the plants even look okay, they just don't perform. That's when people start chasing the wrong fix. This is also why the problem is so frustrating, because nothing looks obviously wrong. And when something declines slowly, it's really hard to pinpoint. So most people don't think my soil structure is breaking down. They think maybe I need more fertilizer. Maybe I need to water more. And they start adjusting the wrong things. At this point, most people assume it's a nutrient problem, so they add fertilizer. And then when that doesn't fully fix it, they add more. But fertilizer only does one thing. It adds nutrients. It does not fix soil structure, compaction, oxygen availability, or the overall physical condition of your soil. So what ends up happening is this. You're adding nutrients into a system that physically can't use them well. Roots aren't expanding like they used to. Microbial activity isn't functioning the same way. So even though nutrients are technically present, they're not being accessed efficiently. And that's why you can increase fertilizer and still see declining results. The good news is you don't have to tear everything out and start over, but you do need to shift how you think about your soil. This isn't a one-time setup. It's something you maintain. The first thing you want to do is replace what's been lost. This is the foundation. Your soil has been breaking down the entire time, so you need to add material back in, and that means compost. And not just a sprinkle, a thin layer on top. You want to add a solid couple inches across the entire bed. And this is where people either underdo it or overthink it. If your soil has dropped a couple inches, just bring it back up to where it was before. And even if your bed hasn't dropped much, adding an inch or two each season is enough to stay ahead of the problem. The key is consistency, not getting it perfect once, but maintaining it over time. The second thing you want to do is open the soil back up. If your soil has compacted, you need to get air back into it. Now, you don't need to till deeply. Just take a garden fork and push it down, 6 or 8 inches and just kind of wiggle it around just to open that up. That's going to allow more oxygen and water to get in there and start to work again. The third thing is to feed the soil, not just the plant. Once your soil starts breaking down, the goal isn't to dig everything up and rebuild it from scratch. You don't need to start mixing in coarse materials or breaking apart your beds. What you want to do is feed the system from the top down, because that's how healthy soil actually builds over time. So instead of trying to fix the soil all at once, you support it. And that means continuing to add compost to the surface and giving the soil biology what it needs to do its job. And this is where something like a good organic input can help. One of the easiest ways to do that is with something like Humates. The blackest, bestest part of great homemade compost? That is humate. And humate helps the soil hold moisture, feed microbial life, and help unlock nutrients that are already there. So instead of just adding more fertilizer, you're improving how the soil actually functions. Now, if you're adding homemade compost, great, that's all you need. But if you don't make your own compost, something like a liquid humate from Neptune's Harvest is really easy to use. You can mix it into your watering routine and apply it directly to the soil. And over time, what you're doing is supporting better biology, better nutrient availability, and more consistent plant growth. And this works especially well once you've already added the structure of even store-bought compost back to the surface. And then, of course, you want to maintain it going forward. Once you understand what's happening, the long-term fix is simple. Each season, add organic matter, keep the soil active, avoid letting it completely dry out, and keep that biological system going. That's what keeps your raised beds productive year after year. Now, there are cases where this isn't enough. If your soil is extremely compacted, drains poorly no matter what you do, or feels dense and lifeless, then it may be worth removing some of it and starting fresh. But that's not most situations. Most raised beds can be brought back just by rebuilding structure and adding organic material. And once you rebuild your soil, the difference is pretty obvious. Plants start growing faster again, they size up better, production comes back. It feels like a brand new bed. So if your raised bed isn't producing like it used to, it's probably not your fertilizer, it's not your watering, it's your soil structure, slowly breaking down over time. If you want to see how I actually filled my beds and what I'm using right now, that video is right here. and I'll see you guys next time.